It's not fair, is the cry of a child. Someone who hasn't yet learned that the universe isn't fair, that you need to meet the universe on its own terms and deal with the people around you and the level of justice that they are willing to give you. And I think it's just a beautiful example of how well the children in this show are written as children. Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today we are going to take a fully spoilery look at Skeleton Crew Season 1, Episode 5. As usual, there will be a short spoiler-free section before we get into the spoiler section. And everybody keeps asking, how is this so good? How is this silly, nostalgia-driven, memberberry-infested children's show so well written? Because it's not just a children's show, it's a family show. A show that the whole family, parents, children, grandparents can sit down with and enjoy. And there's a lot of different elements to that. Number one, it's simply well written. Each scene has its logical sequel. Scene and sequence, it's very technically well written. Every cause has an effect. Every effect has a cause. But the characters are well written too. You have these very innocent, sheltered children who come from a culture with innocent, sheltered adults, and that's clearly shown. And they get thrown into this world of pirates, and they are just continuously shocked and horrified by the pirates, or their innocence protects them and they don't even know what the words the pirates are using mean. But it's all well written and then toned down to be acceptable for a PG audience, and that is difficult to do, and the writers did it well. You have nostalgia by implication. It really isn't a memberberry infestation. There was a massive memberberry in this episode, but it wasn't center screen. You had to be looking sharp-eyed to catch it, but yes, I did see it. But each episode seems to have its core inspiration, and for this episode, it was Ghibli. Nothing Western, but the main inspiration for this episode was Spirited Away. Again, the main appeal of this episode, as with many of the episodes, is just how well the characters are written. These are children. They're trying their best to survive in a world where all of their protections have been stripped away from them, and they're just making mistake after mistake after mistake. And the adult who they trust or don't trust around them are actually morally complex people who you can see that boundary where they know right and wrong, they know what a good person should do, but then they choose to do it or not, and it not only advances the story, you look at these people and you can see the actors portray what's going on in their heads so well. It's not overdone, it's not ham-fisted, there's no villainous monologues, but as an adult looking, you can see the calculations. That the adults know what's right, know how they should be treating these children, but they're pirates. And that's the level of depth where you can look at the actor's face and see the complexities of the emotions going on. And as an adult, you can really get into that story that's being told there. Meanwhile, the kids are watching the flashy adventure happening on screen. Spoiler-free takeaway: write your characters with believable motivations. Write your characters so that the audience can see their moral compass. Write your characters so that the children feel like children and the adults feel like adults. And this is not easy. This takes skill, this takes time, this takes practice. But if you can do it, you can take the silliest concept imaginable, Studio Ghibli in space, and just make it feel so satisfying on a storytelling level. Now, that's the spoiler-free section. We were going to get into the spoilers. If you do not want any spoilers for Season 1, Episode 5 of Skeleton Crew, then I suggest you go take this time to click the link below the video, get yourself a copy of my book, Hidden Fires, Dragons, Aliens, and Things That Go Boom in the Night. It's a first contact story, and hopefully my children feel as much like children as Wim and Neil and Fern and KB do. It's not fair! That's what the children say when, spoilers, Jod inevitably betrays them. Because these are children. Wim steps up, tries to get his big hero moment because he's trying to protect his friends, and he fails miserably because he's one, he's a child who doesn't know what he was doing, and two, look, that thing had two ends, and it was not clearly marked which end the dangerous part came out of. So I figure I certainly would not fare any better if I picked up an unknown weapon without knowing which end the bad thing came out of. So it's so logical. Wim is a child. He has these dreams, these fantasies his entire life. And he gets a moment where he can step up and act them out legitimately. And he steps up. And that took courage. And he messes it up thoroughly. The same way Fern did. She got them to this place. She got them to the point where they could be getting home. And she messes up because the decisions she made as the leader of their little group were informed by the fact that she's, 12? She doesn't have the life experience to be making these decisions. She's just fumbling around. And as much as she is one who defies the rules, the daughter of a woman who defies the rules, when it breaks down and somebody else defies the rules and it's somebody else taking advantage of the system, she just starts crying and says it's not fair because she is a child, throwing as much of a tantrum as a 12-year-old can. And Jod is shown as being so morally complex. He clearly knows what the right thing is to do. He's clearly at some point in his life been taught how to interact with children, been taught to protect children, been taught how to protect children. He wants to shelter them from the harsh realities of life. He wants to not hurt them. He wants to make sure that they're doing okay. But he is entirely inherently selfish. His benefit far outweighs any actual willingness he has to act for the good of the children. So he looks at these children and he is perfectly willing to do what is necessary to support them physically, emotionally, spiritually, but not at any cost to himself. And this is one of those things that just really shows how good this is written as a family show, because the younger the audience watching this show, they're just going to be completely surprised by his, face heel turn, I think you call it, and his actions, because they thought he was a fun guy, a good guy. Because look, he was doing all the good things, all the right things with the kids. But as an adult, you're watching this and you can see the signs that he's willing to be nice as long as it costs him nothing. But as soon as it starts to cost him something, watch out for number 1 is his primary rule, because he's a pirate. Then each of these episodes so far has had a main show or movie that it's taken its aesthetic inspiration from. This one was from Studio Ghibli's Spirited Away. You've got the bathhouse, you've got the parents fumbling around in the background of the story, and you've got the big dirty tub scene. And this is where the creators must have been giggling to themselves as they created this monster, as they produced this monster. Well, he's not a monster. He's a guest at the bathhouse, like the creatures in Spirited Away. But really, Cthulhu-clops, a Cthulhu-faced Biclops, not a Cyclops, a Biclops, and the very Miyazaki Studio Ghibli way that the children get through their encounter with Cthulhu-clops, that this show had me laughing out loud on multiple occasions. And I mean, honest to goodness, sitting there by myself, watching the movie play out, I laughed out loud. Now, I do have to say that this one did remind me that this is a PG-rated show. And there were a couple of moments of violence where I was shocked to see it in a kid's show. And then I remember that this show was taking inspiration from E.T., from The Goonies, from all of those 80 movies that traumatized us on a basic level with the death and violence and horrible things that happened in them. Dark Crystal, The Never-Ending Story. And yes, bad things happen. They happen very carefully under the editing of a PG level rating, but people die in horrible ways. And it's no longer just skeletons laying around. It is living people who just die terribly. On screen, where you can see the light through the holes in their bodies. But again, edited for a PG audience. And at first I was like, whoa, am I going to have to rescind my wholesome rating? And then I remember what the 80s movies were like. And I'm like, it'd be kind of hypocritical for me to judge this harshly. But hey, be warned, people die brutally in this episode. There is so much more I could say about this episode. Well written, beautiful. This was probably the most aesthetically pleasing episode so far, from my opinion. But I have a thing for harsh mountain ranges, so might not be everybody's cup of tea. Neil gets a chance to shine, the son of two analysts. He analyzed the situation. There's just so much more I could say, but I'm going to wrap it up there. And just one more time, if you've listened this far into the video, thank you. Yes, I did see the thing in the treasure room. Yes, obviously, it is a Lucasfilm Easter egg, not a memberberry, I don't think. I think I can say it was not a memberberry because no one paid any attention to it. It served absolutely no point in the plot. It was just sitting there. So it's just that thing that keeps showing up all over the world and all over the galaxy. Long, long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, it was just sitting there waiting for somebody to not touch it, as they said it multiple times during the episode. But what do you think, my wonderful viewers? Does the thing that was in the dark corner of the treasure room on the pirate-themed episode, is that a memberberry, or is it just a cute little Easter egg? Tell me what you think in the comments below. Hit that like and subscribe button, and peace out, my wonderful viewers. Cthulhu Cops. Step into a world of science and of story, of laughter and of tears. Betty Adams has crafted entire worlds of science fiction and science fantasy adventure in her Humans Are Weird series and in her Dying Embers series. Be prepared to laugh, cry, and become absorbed. Check out her books at the links below the video.